Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It's another Wednesday night brew party, very special edition. This is episode number 38. It has been an incredibly busy week. On Monday, I got to appear on my guest show. On Tuesday, I was on Review and Preview. Now, we're back with the brew party. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so honored to be joined by the one and only Sam Cardona from the Girl Who Talks Sports podcast, Giants fan out of Staten Island, New York. Sam, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for having me on earlier this week. Go check that out now on all platforms, guys. That podcast, we had an awesome time talking about NFL Week 11 and all that stuff. Enough of me talking. Sam, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm like super stoked for this. I got my glass of wine all ready to go. I know we're okay. Party, but
you got your glass of wine. I can work with that, Sam. Hold on.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're in business now.
We're gonna class up the joint a little bit tonight.
But yeah, no, I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. This is going to be an awesome time. Let's start by talking about your podcast a little bit. So you are the Girl Who Talks Sports. We have a comment already from Thomas Scavetta, a mutual friend who we've collaborated with. What's up, friends? Tom, thanks so much for joining in. Go check out all of Thomas's content over at Review and Preview. Awesome stuff. They just had me on last night for a full 2 hours. Got to guest host with Thomas, Kyle, and James. Go check that out. The replay is available now on their YouTube and on their Facebook at Review and Preview Sports. Thanks so much for checking in, Thomas. Please go check out all of their great content. So let's talk about your content, Sam. So the Girl Who Talks Sports podcast. Tell me how long you've been doing it, how you got started.
So I actually, when I was in college, I went to University at Albany. I had a actual radio show like on airwaves. And when I finished that up, I was like, well, if I want to continue doing this, the next best thing, podcasting. So I started doing that in November of 2018. I recently got on YouTube this year. So you can check me out on YouTube at The Girl Who Talks Sports. All my social media handles are TGWTS Podcast. And yeah, no, I got started doing it. I thought that it was just like a really fun thing to do, talking about football, talking about sports, just kind of like giving my own opinion on everything. And I just kept with it. And yeah, I decided on the podcast thing just because it is so easy to start a podcast. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, I highly recommend doing it because it really is the easiest thing to begin. So yeah, I started basically picked off of my radio show and was able to do it more on my own because I used to have a co-host. And then and now we're here and I'm just keep on keeping on at this point.
So tell us where we can find all of your awesome stuff. Give me your social media. Let us know. I'm sure, like I said, you're on all platforms, but just plug yourself a little bit here.
So I'm on basically any podcast platform that you listen to podcasts on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, anywhere that you get your podcasts from. The Girl Who Talks Sports is available there. And like I said, the YouTube channel is just The Girl Who Talks Sports. You just have to look for the orange foam finger in the green background. That's me. And I'm basically literally everywhere. Like you can't miss it.
You cannot miss it. The Girl Who Talks Sports, TGWTS podcast. Had to make sure I had those letters in the correct order. God knows I would mess that up. Find The Girl Who Talks Sports wherever you get your podcasts. I have a couple listener comments here. Hank and Dick Door, how's it going, guys? Let's go, G-Men. You guys are on a run right now. We're going to get into your Giants here in just 1 second, and then I'll join you in spirit with a cold one. Let's go, Hank. Cheers. And then my former roommate here, Tate, get hype. Andrew, you're so handsome. Go off. I appreciate that. You don't have to lie to me on the live stream, Tate. All right, let's jump into your Giants here a little bit. So you guys were on bye week this week. But there was kind of a story here. So your head coach, Joe Judge, fires offensive line coach Mark Colombo. And apparently Colombo, he didn't enjoy this conversation or enjoy this interaction at all with Joe Judge. Can you kind of give me your thoughts on this whole situation and maybe kind of explain what happened to anybody that didn't hear about this or didn't know what's going on?
Sure. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, what happened was Joe Judge went to Mark Colombo and proposed to him that he was going to be hiring Dave DeGuglielmo. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. But so he said that he's hiring Dave. They're going to like kind of coexist. And Mark Colombo did not like that whatsoever. So there's rumors that there was a fist fight. I don't think that there was. I think those rumors were squashed, but the rumor did go around that there was a very, very heated exchange between the two of them. And then they made the decision that like they were just going to go their separate ways, not make any drastic decisions. But Joe Judge still went off and basically told HR, hey, listen, Mark Colombo, tell him in the morning he doesn't work here anymore. So he fired him to have just Dave as the offensive line coach. So to be quite honest with you, I'm so behind Joe Judge. I totally and utterly respect his decision on this. You can tell he's one of these no-nonsense leaders. Like, he's just like, this is the way it's going to be. And if you don't like it, it's my way or the highway. And he's kind of bringing that Patriots mentality to the Giants, I think, a little bit, because he used to be the special teams coach. And yeah, like he just came out and was just like, listen, this guy didn't agree with me. I tried to give him a proposition. He didn't agree with it. Therefore, he no longer has a job here. And now he's going to have Dave step in and be the offensive line coach. To be quite honest, our offensive line needs a lot of work. So obviously there was more than just a heated exchange behind this. Like, he obviously wasn't just bringing in someone else for no reason. So I think that Joe Judge made the right decision here. I think that he made it known what his position is in this whole, Giants organization. Like, he's like, listen, this is how it's going to be. And I think a lot of people are like, all right, now we know what's going on. Now we know that Joe Judge is going to be the guy that's like, you got to do what he says. Otherwise, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. So I really respect him. I respect his decision on all this. And hopefully our offensive line gets a little bit better.
Yeah, I love the move as well. You have to respect a guy that's not afraid to go up against the 300-pound former offensive lineman himself, who battled in the trenches, former Bear Mark Colombo, actually. But yeah, your offensive line has definitely left something to be desired this year. So, but you know how stubborn people can be. You think maybe he thinks, oh, I'm losing my job already, when no, they just wanted to bring in a co-offensive line coach, and now his ass is grass, and he's gone anyway. So I do like that move by Joe Judge. So what are your overall thoughts, through the first, 11 weeks now of the season, year one at the helm for Joe Judge? Do you think he has what it takes to lead this franchise where you guys need to be, where you were 5-10 years ago, in the Super Bowl conversation?
Right. No, in the beginning of the season, we're just starting out, you don't really have the feel for it yet. And I was a little unsure. But now over these past couple weeks and during that Eagles game from before our bye week, I definitely think that there's something special about Joe Judge here. You can tell that he can connect with his players on a level that's, a little bit more personal and a little bit more of someone who can actually connect with them and make things better. And I agree with Hank here. Andrew Thomas was our fourth pick in the draft, and he was doing absolutely nothing. So Andrew Thomas getting better is one of the main components here that really shows that this was the better move for the offensive line. But yeah, no, Joe Judge, again, and when I was on Big Blue Avenue, I was with Hank and Tom. I told them, I don't know, like, things are a little shaky right now. I don't really know. But as this year has gone on, I've definitely felt Joe Judge is here. He has a plan. He knows what's going on, and he knows what he wants. And this is a newer team. Daniel Jones still in his second year. And we have these new guys coming in. And I think that with Joe Judge, and now Jason Garrett is our offensive coordinator, also first year here.
Coach
I know
Clapp. Coach
I hated
Clapp.
him for all of my life, and now I have to like him. But yeah, it's, this is a new team. They're just starting to mesh. They're starting to, kind of gel together. And I think that this could be really good. And even some other people that I've talked to have said, you're in a playoff conversation right now in your division, being the division that it is. Nonetheless, you're in a playoff talk, which is not something that I would have laughed in your face if you told that to me like 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the NFC East, they're all in playoff conversation. You know, the Eagles 3-6-1, everybody else 3-7. We're going to see potentially a 5-11 team host a playoff game this year.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Daniel Jones. Let's talk a little bit about your New York quarterbacks here a little bit. I want to talk about Eli a little bit first. Obviously, you know, 2 Super Bowls, takes down Tommy Brady in both of those. You know, retires last year, kind of gets his job taken. I don't want to say taken from him, or gives the reins over to Daniel Jones. But, you know, he's very highly regarded by Giants fans. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
I mean, if I say no, that's awful. Of course he's a Hall of Famer. This man was in the league for 16 years, beat Tom Brady both times he went up against him. I mean, despite him being at a perfect 500 in his record, he's 117 and 117.
Beautiful.
Like, you couldn't even try to do that if you wanted to. So just that alone, it should be amazing. But I mean, the guy has won 2 Super Bowls. In both those Super Bowls, he was the MVP. He's been to the Pro Bowl 4 times. It's really like, you can't say that Eli Manning is not a Hall of Fame quarterback, because despite having a bit of a rocky edge towards the end of that, you know, it wasn't a pretty way to go out, but it was time for him to kind of hang it up. And like, he did so much for us, and he never wavered. No one ever said, "Oh no, we're going to lose Eli. Eli's going to leave," or, you know, he's not our New York quarterback. Eli will forever be my quarterback, figuring that it was most of my life that he was your quarterback. So, of course, I believe Eli is a Hall of Famer, and whether or not he's going to get in the first ballot, I really hope so, but I don't know who else is going to be on the ballot this year. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? I definitely see him as a Hall of Famer. It's hard to ignore those 2 Super Bowls, what he was able to do. The improbability of that, those runs that they made was pretty awesome. And I think you see that a lot in sports, especially with quarterbacks, that they maybe take it 1 year too far. And that could have been, he just wasn't ready to hang it up, and he might not have been ready to be on the field as well. But yeah, I do like that. You have to respect what Eli Manning was able to do. And I like what you said. He was your quarterback, the classic Terrell Owens, that's my quarterback. But like you said, that's your whole year. That's like your whole life that's what you remember. Unfortunately, as a Bears fan, there's like 16 guys I could name for you, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Daniel Jones a little bit. What have been your overall thoughts from the first few years of Daniel Jones? Obviously very young, only 2 games this year where he has not committed a turnover. How far can Daniel Jones take this team?
Well, all right. If we're talking turnovers, let me tell you a little fun stat here. You know how many? All right. So Daniel Jones has 9 turnovers, right? Thank you, Hank. You know who else has 9 turnovers? Tom Brady. Tom Brady also has 9 turnovers, and Russell Wilson has 10. So, in terms of turnovers, yeah, I mean,
take Quake. Yes. Throwing out the numbers here
with a little grain of salt here, but you know, again, like I said, this is very new. I know Daniel Jones started last year, but you could tell he you caught him on like one foot. He like almost wasn't ready. You know, he didn't really know what to do. He was sitting behind Eli. Like, how do you take Eli's place after that? So Daniel Jones, I think, has improved immensely, especially after he figured out that he can run with a football. Like, nobody ever, I would have never in a million years thought that Daniel Jones was a running quarterback. Now he's running 89 yards, 34-yard touchdown. I was like, you know what? Let the kid run. If he wants to run, let him run. And he's doing, I think, a really good job, especially with the improving offensive line. They're giving him a little bit more time. He's has an arm like nobody's business. Like he is a gunslinger. And if he's given the opportunity to throw it, he can do it. So, you know, and his receivers are always there, except for Evan Ingram, because he seems to just drop the ball whenever he feels like it. But in terms of the other receivers and everything, and also despite losing, you know, the guy in the backfield, Saquon Barkley, I think Daniel Jones is doing a really, really great job. And I think that he should just continue in the direction that he's going. Obviously, it's working with Jason Garrett in that offensive coordinator position. So I think he's doing really well. I think he can continue doing really well. Whether or not they make it to the playoffs or not, and he does well in the playoffs, we'll have to see. It's a little bit more of a pressure situation he's never experienced before. Danny Dimes. he's I think he's going to do a lot better than everyone thinks that he's going to do.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned his ability to run, because looking at him, you wouldn't think. He looks like a typical pocket passer, typical NFL quarterback. When he gets loose, he can run. We saw that long run earlier this year where he did get tripped up by the 30-yard line, which was unfortunate. But, I do also like what you said. What he has been able to do with the guys around him, you mentioned Saquon's out, but he has weapons on this offense. You talk about Slayton. You do mention Ingram that drops balls, but there are guys that can make plays for him here, and he has utilized them. I know they're only 3-7, but there have been a couple games where it could have gone either way. You talk about the game against Tampa Bay.
Oh, my God.
I don't think Tampa Bay deserved to win that game, but that's neither here nor there. Let's move on. I actually never asked you, so tell me how you got into the Giants. What made you become such a big Giants fan? And I know you were telling me that your brother is a Steelers fan, so I want to know how that kind of works.
So, technically everyone in my family supports different teams. So my dad actually grew up Danny Sneakers. That's my nickname for him. So my dad actually grew up a Jets fan. And, he kind of made his way through all of those really hard years. But he's always been like, no matter what, we support New York teams. Being from New York, we always support a New York team. So, me being a young kid and my simple brain, I was like, okay, Jets lose, Giants win. I'm going to be a Giants fan. No, that just makes sense. My brother became a Steelers fan just because I think he just really likes the Steelers. They're just,
right.
You can't hate the Steelers in my opinion. I think that they should be the ones called America's team. I know several people from all over the country that are Steelers fans and nowhere near Pittsburgh. So, and my mom just roots for anybody who's losing. So she's like, I'm rooting for the underdogs this week. And if the Giants are the underdog, she's rooting for the Giants, So yeah.
She just wants everybody to have fun.
Yes, exactly. She's just like, what, if they're having a good time out there, that's fine. But yeah, no, so I basically was like, the Giants are a winning team and they're cool. My favorite color is blue. So I was like, that's cool too. And I was like, Giants fan it is. And I've been a Giants fan probably since I was like 9, 10 years old. So like I probably came into the game right as Kurt Warner was getting benched and Eli Manning was coming in.
There you go. All right, yeah, I love that story. That's a good story. I like how we got an insight into everybody in the fam and what they like and dislike. That's awesome. So let's talk about your defense a little bit really quick. And the guy that really sticks out on New York's defense for me is James Bradberry.
Yeah,
he comes over from Carolina in the offseason. Cornerback, he's the number 16 rated quarterback by PFF right now, or cornerback, I should say. I don't know if I said quarterback or not there. But so just talk to me a little bit about what he's been able to bring to the Giants defense. And do you think he was the biggest addition for you guys this offseason?
Oh, 100%. 100%. We had a decent defense, but like not anything that special. But once Bradberry came in, all of a sudden our defense transformed. He's a consistent playmaker and he's like really good. I don't know how many interceptions does he have? 3? Something like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. But,
3, yes. He has 3 interceptions. He's tied for 6th in the NFL. I'm sorry, I was muted for a second there when I tried to say it. But yeah, okay. 3 interceptions, tied for 6th in the NFL. He's got his PFF rating is like 76.5. So he's just having a great year for you guys.
Yeah, and he is really, really good at pass deflections, which was a big thing in the Eagles game because there were no turnovers in that game. But the pass deflections were so important to that game. And James Bradberry was one of those guys who continued to do that. And yeah, he's taken basically 100% of the snaps. He's in every single play for the defense. Yeah, definitely one of the best pickups in the offseason for us in terms of free agency. Really transformed our defense. Really, really great job. And the Giants defense and James Bradberry, like in general, in that Buccaneers game, impeccable. So good. And that play at the very end of the game was not pass interference. I will die on this hill.
Pick up the flag, refs. Come on, let him play. But yeah, let's look over some of his stats here real quick. So 28 solo tackles, 3 interceptions, like we said, 14 pass deflections. That, like you mentioned, been huge for the Giants in that department. 1 forced fumble. He's only allowed 31 catches on 56 total targets. So guys are not catching the ball when he is covering them. That's something to watch for, I would say, down the rest of the stretch. Having a lockdown corner when you need one, when you need wins in the NFL is very important. So let's jump into the rest of the NFL, some storylines from week 11. I know we talked about this a little bit on your show on Monday, but I want to get your take on it. Taysom Hill versus the Falcons. So he gets his first career start. Did you like or dislike that move? I know we both on Twitter were kind of clamoring for Jameis Winston. I had said it whenever Jameis is on TV, it's appointment television. I don't care if you're winning or losing. But tell me your take. Tell me going into the game, your thoughts, and tell me after watching Hill's performance what your takeaway was.
Yeah, so I mean, part of the reason why we connected was because I was like, I DM'd you about Jameis because I was like, everybody seems to be rooting for Jameis here. Yeah, definitely when they announced it was Taysom, I was really surprised. I thought Sean Payton was going to stick with a guy labeled mainly as a quarterback. You know, Taysom Hill is a great guy to throw in there sometimes, the trick plays and everything, but he's also a fantastic tight end. So I was very like, damn, like, he's out here putting Taysom Hill to start for quarterback. And we have seen a few plays with Taysom Hill's quarterback, but never a consistent play by play. So yeah, I was a little skeptical at first, but he definitely changed my mind, I think. When I was watching this game, yeah, like at first I was like, oh, he seems to be trying to do everything himself because he's known as the Swiss Army knife, you know, of the Saints offense. And I think he almost took that as like, I have to do everything. I have to throw the ball. I have to catch the ball. I have to kick the ball. I have to be the offense. I have to do everything. And then he rushed for 51 yards and took off 10 times. Like, he definitely over the course of the game got better in the pocket for sure. He learned that he was like, okay, I have to get out of this tight end mindset. I have to throw the ball. I have to get it down the field. I have to make plays. And I think that he did a really good job with that. And it was a really big win for them, division win over the Falcons. I think that he did perfectly fine. Whether or not he's going to be the final answer once Drew Brees ends up, you know, retiring from the NFL, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be a consistent quarterback because, again, you know, this isn't permanent. Drew Brees is still a Saints quarterback. But I don't know. He looked great. He really did.
Yeah, he did look great. And I had mentioned on your podcast, going into that game, he had 55 less career pass attempts than Jake Luton, the guy that started like 3 games for Jacksonville and actually just getting benched for Mike Glennon next week. We have a Mike Glennon alert for week 12. His first start in 3 years since he was a member of my Chicago Bears and got benched for Mitchell Trubisky. It's actually really weird how that works. So Mike Glennon, quarterback of the Bears, gets benched for Trubisky, goes down to Jacksonville, and then where Foles was the quarterback, Foles gets benched for Minshew. Foles comes up to Chicago. Trubisky gets benched for Foles, and now technically Minshew's not benched because he's still hurt, but now Glennon's in there for Jacksonville. Just a web of shitty quarterbacks here. We'll just say that. But let's move back to New Orleans. What does this mean for Jameis Winston going forward? Do you see him having a role on the Saints at all? I do believe that Sean Payton did say, you know, kind of our philosophy was if we had time to prepare, if we had an off week or we had a full week, that you were going to see Taysom Hill. But if it was a big game, you would be seeing Jameis Winston. Do you think there's any truth to that? Do you think that was just kind of something for the media to keep other teams guessing, to not know what's coming at them? Or what's your take here?
No, I definitely think, you know, Sean Payton has been doing this for a long time, and I think that he's pretty smart. So I think that that's definitely – I didn't even think about the fact that if you don't know who the starting quarterback is, you have to prepare for both because you don't know which one you're going to be starting. So I think that that's definitely a tactic that he is probably implementing here. In terms of Jameis, I know that we talked about this on my episode this week as well. and I asked you this question, and you basically were like, yeah, no, he's probably going to end up on another team. And to be honest, I agree with you. I think that it's not his home. It's not someplace that he's going to, star and be the star of. I think Jameis Winston has a lot of potential, especially now that he can see. He got his LASIK surgery. He's all good now. So I definitely think that there's some place for him. I don't know where it is, but I don't think it's in New Orleans.
I completely agree with you, and I love what you said. Now that he can see and he can eat more W's or whatever the hell that is. But yeah, I love watching Jameis Winston play football. Like, we're talking about a guy that threw for over 5,000 yards last year and had 30 touchdowns. But then you got to be like, oh, well, he threw 30 interceptions.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's fun to watch. So I do hope he finds a permanent home. I will say I would take him in Chicago today. Us Bears fans would appreciate and adore Jameis. I will buy a Jameis Winston jersey today if that were to happen. Let's talk about a few other things. This is going to get a little bit sad. Our guy, Joe Burrow, out for the year, torn ACL, torn MCL. There's also other structural damage in his knee. If you didn't see the play, if you are faint of heart or don't like watching injuries, don't
watch it.
It's a 3rd and 2 from about their own 4-yard line. He gets sandwiched between 2 defenders on Washington, and he just kind of instantly knew it was done, grabbing his knee, and it was just downright gross. And I know you were super upset about it. Sporty Jordy was super upset about it. What was kind of your thoughts seeing Joe out there like that?
Yeah, I mean, the kid has ridiculously just such strong potential, and he was doing so good.
We will keep Jameis away from the crab legs. Thank you, Hank, for that listener comment. Keep him away from those crab legs. So yeah, he's not allowed in any Publix grocery stores. Okay, Hank.
Yeah. So Joe Burrow out here got hurt. It really is so sad because he was having quite an impeccable season despite being on the Bengals and not having a winning record. Joe Burrow is putting up 300, 400 yards every single week. And you were the one that told me he was just about to break a rookie record, which
correct.
Is devastating.
So he was about to be the first rookie ever to throw for 300 yards in 6 out of his first 10 games. He did it in 5, and in the game he got hurt on Sunday, he was at 203 yards, and it was in the 3rd quarter. So you'd like to think he would have been able to throw for 97 more yards, which you got to think they'd get at least 4 more possessions out of that. But, I mean, you never know, but it's just awful to see for a guy that's number 1 pick. I talked about on your podcast how amazing he was in college last year and just how I truly believe he is the next superstar quarterback in this league. But hopefully he comes back strong. I guess now his status for week 1 next year is up in air. But if you're the Bengals, Sam, I want to get your opinion here. Do you know that next year you're probably not going to be very good? If you come into the year with a not 100% Joe Burrow, do you keep him out for next year and just save him for 2022, perfectly healthy, ready to go?
The thing is, that seems like the smart thing, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think that's
smart and Cincinnati Bengals don't go in the same sentence. I get what you're saying.
I know, but I definitely think that Joe Burrow will be back next year, whether it's week 1, whether it's week 7, like whenever he ends up coming back. I do think that he will be back next year. I mean, he's resilient. He's a resilient kid, but yeah, I just they spent their first overall pick on this guy. It was obvious that it was paying off. It was, despite not winning again, it's like the Bengals. If Joe Burrow was on any other team, I must say they would be like outstanding. But because he's on the Bengals, he has no targets. He's got no offensive line. Like, it's just nothing. He's got nothing. And he was able to
not a lot to work with.
Not a lot to work with. If this upcoming draft, the Bengals invest maybe in a fantastic wide receiver that like someone for Joe Burrow to throw to, especially if they draft someone from LSU that he's almost familiar with, I think that's the money right there. Like, to have someone for Joe Burrow to actually throw to. AJ Green is not in the game right now. I know he's probably one of the best assets on that team, but you can tell his head's not in it. I don't even know if he wants to be on that team anymore. It's a whole thing with AJ Green.
Right.
The Bengals not looking great, and they have Brandon Allen coming in for Joe Burrow.
I think it's Ryan Finley. Brandon Allen might also be on the roster, but who cares? Either way, it's the same difference. They're not going to win any more games, at least in my eyes, unless they steal one. But yeah, they do have T. Higgins on the roster, who a really good receiver out of Clemson this year, who I think will be able to. I think they'll be able to build him with Joe Burrow, and also Tyler Boyd is not too bad. But yeah, the whole AJ Green situation is, does he want to be there? It kind of seems done with his whole situation in Cincinnati, but they could go after a guy like Jamar Chase. Opted out this year, played at LSU, played with Joe Burrow, probably would have been the best receiver in college football this year. I know that's all hearsay at this point, but I think if you're the Bengals, go after a receiver and shore up that offensive line. You have to have somebody protect Burrow. But that being said, he is fearless. He stays in that pocket as long as possible. He was not backing down to that Washington pass rush.
Yeah.
Brandon Allen will start. Okay, You were right. I apologize. I thought it was Finley, but no, I don't know shit. Thanks, Hank, for the comment. Let's move on to another rookie quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa gets benched in the fourth quarter for Ryan Fitzpatrick, who he replaced earlier in the year. Like or dislike this move, Tua getting benched by Brian Flores and the Dolphins in the fourth quarter in crunch time, down 10 to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, no, not good. Was not good at all. Like, this was probably the worst thing.
Okay, Hank, I'm going to need you to just spend all of your time in the break room and just drop bombs. Hank is my new indictor. We call him the break room insider. Another listener comment. If you're just listening to this, if you're listening to the podcast version of this, fun fact, the news that Allen is starting is another example of a break room bomb. He mentioned on Big Blue Avenue with Sam and Sporty Jordy last week that he had got some other news in the break room at work. That is just the place to be if you're Hank and Dictor. Go on, Sam. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You are good. What were we talking about? Tua.
Tua, do you like or dislike the move?
Don't like it. Bad choice. It is totally broken up the idea of who's the quarterback on this team. The offense is confused. Tua's confused. Ryan's confused. It's just a big mess, because also Brian Flores comes out and says, "Oh yeah, no, Tua wasn't hurt. We just took him out because I think Fitzpatrick would probably be better here." That's not how you work quarterbacks. You have a quarterback, and they are your guy through and through. You can't just keep switching out guys. It confuses the offense. They work a certain way with their quarterbacks because every quarterback obviously is different. So to have Ryan Fitzpatrick come in at the end of this game, throws an interception, they don't even win the game. It was completely and utterly just the wrong choice. And then to say Tua is still the starter, it doesn't make any sense. So Brian Flores, listen, buddy, I know you're watching. So here we go.
Thanks for tuning in, B-Flow.
Yeah, thanks, Brian Flores. So stick with Tua. I know Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's Ryan Fitzmagic. My family loves Ryan Fitzpatrick. My dad's a Jets fan, and he's like, the Dolphins are good. Like, that should say something about it. He loves Ryan Fitzpatrick. We love Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's not your guy. Tua is your guy. You spent a 5th overall pick on Tua. You have to utilize him and build him for the future. You can keep, Fitzmagic on the side just in case, God forbid, Tua does get hurt. But you can't just switch him in just because you think that he'd be better at the end of the game. It's just too confusing. Tua's confidence just probably completely is on the floor right now. He doesn't know what his coach thinks of him. He doesn't think his coach like he's in. If that was me and I was Tua, I'd say my coach doesn't believe that I can finish a game, and that just would completely break me. So definitely stick with one or the other. And if it were me, I would just stick with Tua.
Absolutely, I love that take. I think that definitely has something to do or something some type of effect on this mental psyche. I mentioned it on your podcast. What happens if it's 3rd and 6, fourth down? They need a conversion, and he's afraid to take a shot or afraid to make a play because he doesn't want to get benched. I think that's a great point. But then he said, Fitzpatrick gave us the best chance to win at that moment. I will give Fitzpatrick credit. He moved the ball down the field. He just threw that interception in the red zone. Tua had like 83 yards passing in that game. He was not moving the offense. They had 10 points against the Broncos, who I believe two of their best defenders are hurt for the year. They have an incredible defensive coach in Vic Fangio, so he knows how to scheme things up. And this is the NFL. You can't take anything for granted. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, just the whole, you just have to pick one. I mean, you bench Fitzpatrick for Tua, but now in this game, he's your best option to win. What was the problem when you had won 2 in a row with Fitzpatrick already, and you're riding this 5-game win streak? And I mean, I like Tua. I'd like him to succeed. I'd like him to be a good quarterback. And like you said, this is a top 5 pick. You have to see what you have here. But has he done anything super impressive in his 4 starts? Like, he's been under 100 yards twice now. And really, that defense has won them more games than I will say Tua has won them games. But let's move on to another quarterback who has not done super great. I know that you are not an Eagles fan, and I should really ask your friend Sporty Jordy about this one, but Carson Wentz, he continues to struggle. 2 interceptions against the Browns. He now has a league-leading 14 interceptions. What do you think is the problem in Philadelphia right now?
I mean, well, first of all, Jordan, if for people that don't know, is basically like my whole Eagles insider. She is a diehard Eagles fan. We met at work last year, and she and I obviously do not like the same teams, but we like to have conversations about this. And I actually sent her a video. I don't know if you saw this, but Joey Bosa was kicking a trash can on the side of the sideline. And someone said, "Why is Joey Bosa kicking Carson Wentz like that?"
That's mean. Hashtag mean.
It's so mean. It's so mean. And I sent it to Jordan, and I was like, "I want to apologize, but this is so flippin' funny. It's so funny." And she was like, "Listen, I laugh too," and she gets it. But I think here that the problem with the Eagles, which is something I didn't know that Jordan told me, is that they do not have an offensive coordinator. So they are basically just going off of Doug Peterson, who his mind is in 17,000 different directions. So I think that the lack of the offensive coordinator is definitely a big thing here, but also Carson Wentz just not doing well at all. To be fair, they have a lot of injuries on their offensive line. No one is giving Carson Wentz the time of day to even do anything with the football. So I like the Eagles right now, we joke about it, but they're just in this division, despite being number 1, just because of that tie with the Bengals. They're not good. They're not good. And I can even say in the past, I thought the Eagles were going to be the ones in this league, in this division, to make the playoffs. Now I'm not so sure. They just lost to the Browns. Out of all teams, I mean, I know like the Browns are like weirdly good this year, but out of all the teams to lose against this year, the Browns are not the ones that you should be losing against. And that first game against the Giants, where they played on Thursday Night Football, again, I spoke with Jordan on that as well. She said they didn't even deserve that win. Like, the Giants should have won that game. The Eagles are just, everything is falling apart in terms of injuries and everything. And Doug Peterson not being able to focus just on the offense. He's got a lot of things going on in terms of being a head coach. That's definitely part of it. I don't know if they're going to like let Peterson go or what's going to go on. There was hesitation this week. They asked Peterson if he was going to start, if Carson was going to start. And he kind of like, and he was like, "Yeah, no, he's starting." And everyone was like, you didn't say that like right off the bat. Like, are you thinking about it? So it's possible maybe the confidence isn't there. And I mean, Carson Wentz has gotten hurt like so many times as well. I don't know. The Eagles offense is definitely just like a cluster fire. It is just, it's not good.
It is a clusterfuck for sure. Their offensive line can't block anybody. You see, he leads the league in sacks taken with 40. Leads the league in interceptions with 14. He has over 280 yards of negative yards, I should say, have come from just being sacked this year. That's not sustainable on offense. You talk about the amount of injuries and everything Philadelphia has gone to. He doesn't have a lot of weapons at receiver, and Fulgham has been really good for them this year. I'm interested to see how Jalen Reagor pans out. There are a couple guys that they probably could have taken ahead of him in this year's draft, but they decided to go with the rookie from TCU. But so do you attribute any of these struggles to Doug Peterson? Do you think this is more on Wentz or more on Doug Peterson?
I definitely think it's a combination of the two. But you can tell Doug Peterson's is just like he's just as confused as Carson Wentz is at this point. So it's true. They are just like, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody has any idea. And then they're like, you know what we're going to do? We have a solution. Let's draft another quarterback instead of getting a wide receiver. Like, I think they were supposed to be, or the best choice for them at their slot was Henry Ruggs was one of the best receivers that they could have done. And then they drafted Jalen Hurts. And I was like, what? Why? Why would you do that? Like, I think they had like the 14th overall pick. That is the dumbest thing you could have ever done. So obviously, even if they get a good draft pick, I don't know if they're going to pick the right person to have on their team. The Eagles, I definitely think that Doug Peterson has something to do with it, but I must, it has to be thrown out there that their offensive coordinator is non-existent. There's nobody there focusing on their offense. So that's definitely part of the reason why they are just like way on the decline.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be interested to see how long both of those guys last in Philly going forward. Let's talk a little bit about Sunday Night Football. Chiefs 35, Raiders 31. So we talked about it a little bit on your podcast. This was the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career he has thrown a go-ahead touchdown with less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs just don't play close games like this. The Raiders score a touchdown and left, I believe, 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock. And credit the Raiders. Shout out to my guy, Trey Smith. He's a huge Raiders fan. Raid. I think they could be dark horse contenders in the AFC this year. What were your kind of thoughts from that game? Obviously, the Chiefs move on to 9-1. I think they're the clear Super Bowl favorites in the AFC. Do you think the Raiders have a chance of making a similar run like we saw Tennessee last year?
Yeah, no, I mean, last year when Tennessee was making it throughout the playoffs as far as they did, everybody was like, oh my God, the Tennessee Titans are here. Like, we didn't even see you guys come in. Like, oh, okay. So the Titans were definitely one of those surprise teams. And I think that the Raiders are definitely, if not, completely Super Bowl contenders, they can definitely upset a lot of people in the playoffs or on the way to the playoff run, because the Raiders were the only team that have beaten the Chiefs this year. And obviously, as we saw in this Sunday night game, they could have easily won this game. If the Chiefs didn't have Patrick Mahomes, I think that the Raiders would have won this game. But obviously, Patrick Mahomes is indeed from another planet. So he came out, throws the ball down the field, they win the game. But throughout this game, I remember every single time I looked at the screen, the score was different. And it was within 3 points, 4 points, 6 points. Like, it was always close. Nobody was ever blowing the other out. And with the Chiefs, that's kind of what you expect, because the Chiefs are that good, and they were fantastic in the Super Bowl. Granted, they were playing the 49ers, who shouldn't have been there, but that's a whole nother rant for another day.
Oh, okay.
The Packers should have been there. But that's, again, another rant for another day. The Chiefs. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
I disagree that the Packers should have been there, but go on. That's a conversation for another day, like you just said.
Yeah, we have too many thoughts there. But the Chiefs are definitely the team to beat here. I have them in the Super Bowl this year. I definitely think that the Chiefs are going to make it to the Super Bowl this year. If not, make a fantastic playoff run. But I definitely think that the Raiders have something special. Derek Carr is not a star quarterback, but he's able to get the job done, and they're able to do some great things on offense. Their defense is something out of, a magic playbook. They are always out here doing these great things. And John Gruden has somehow figured out this team over, these short years of him coaching the Raiders, when he first started coaching the Raiders, they looked like shit. So,
right.
so like, to go from this to now have them here and them winning again. I think they beat the Saints one night on a Monday night game.
They're good. They're good. They're a good football team. I need to give John Gruden credit because people like to shit on him a lot. But what him and Mike Mayock have been able to do, they've actually almost kind of tried to build their team similar to the Chiefs, or just a team that can play with the Chiefs. So they get Josh Jacobs in the backfield, who is a legit running back, who is bet I would take Jacobs over Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell that the Chiefs have. They have a speed. They have it. I would. I mean, I think he's better. And then Henry Ruggs is not a better receiver than anybody that the Chiefs has, but he's that similar type where he's that speedster where he can just run by you and a deep threat. And then you have Waller at the tight end, who's the second best tight end behind Travis Kelce. Yeah. You talk about what Nick Kwiatkowski has been able to do at the linebacker position, former Chicago Bear, for John Gruden on this defense. Abram has been incredible at the safety position. And then Max Crosby, 2 X's there. Don't forget that. Double X because he was like 11 pounds when he was born.
11 pounds, 9 ounces.
I apologize to his mother. My son was 8 pounds. 8 pounds, 2 or 3 ounces or something like that. And that seemed huge already. So cheers to you, Max Crosby's mother. But I love the Raiders in the AFC. I think they can definitely make a similar run to the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, it remains to be seen what the playoff matchups and all that will be. But Raid, that's all I'll say about that. Let's talk about Monday Night Football a little bit. The Rams are a very good football team, folks. Interesting stat I saw. Sean McVay, I believe, is now 32-0 as the head coach of the Rams when they are leading at halftime.
That's true.
That's insane. Look at what Aaron Donald and this defense has been able to do. Aaron Donald, I believe, is still without a sack. They were pressuring Tom Brady all night. And then you talk about Jalen Ramsey, John Johnson III on the back half, causing havoc. And then what was the guy's name that had the 2 interceptions? Was it Fuller? Started with an F, but
I can't remember.
I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. If this is great radio right now. But what was your kind of takeaway from this Rams-Bucks game? Do you believe the Rams are like kind of quietly becoming one of the NFC title contenders here?
Yeah. So this game was insane. This was like not something I was expecting at all. I was. If I had to bet money on it, I would have thought that the Buccaneers were going to win. But, yeah.
I did bet on the Buccaneers. Thank you, Brew. I'm a fucking asshole. He's 0 for 3 when betting on the Buccaneers.
Well, that's because the Buccaneers are 0-3 in primetime. And I think that's part of the reason why. I don't know what it is, but, I mean, usually we see Tom Brady, playing it up, doing his Tom Brady thing. But in this case, when I was watching this game, this offense looked awful. It was not good at all. His targets didn't seem to be where they were supposed to be. Tom's throwing the ball. He got like 2 interceptions. Like, it just didn't look good. And the Buccaneers defense, which is one of the best defenses in the league, were trying their very best here. But the Rams came out on top. And in terms of them being an NFC contender, at first when I heard that, I was like, nah, no. And then I looked at all of them side by side, and I was like, okay, the only other teams here that maybe could compete is the Saints, who no longer have their starting quarterback, the Packers, who aren't looking that good right now. I mean, after losing to the Colts in overtime last week, and like maybe the Seattle Seahawks, maybe the Cardinals. Otherwise, I was like, what? The Rams were like nothing in the beginning of this year. Now all of a sudden they're at the top. And like out of all the people that could like, I mean, I didn't even bother to mention the NFC East here, so it's fine. But the NFC is so up for grabs right now, and now at this point, this is like one of these weird years that like I have no idea which way this is going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very. I don't want to say weird, but it almost is. It's just it's so close. It's how good the Rams have been able to be defensively this year, and then you mix it in Sean McVay's offensive system. You can say what you want about Jared Goff, but he's having a good year. They plug in Darrell Henderson Jr. They get rid of Todd Gurley. Cooper Kupp is incredible. And you talk about Robert Woods, what he's been able to do. They even bring him out of the backfield in motion a lot. They move quickly. They're missing Whitworth on the offensive line now, but they didn't show it. They held up well against this Tampa Bay rush. I want to talk about Tampa Bay a little bit and Tom Brady. Is it time to start getting worried about him? When he faces pressure, what the Rams were able to do and what we've seen in 3 or 4 games now this season, if he doesn't have time to throw, he has not been effective at all. I do want to attribute that a little bit to Bruce Arians' offense. It's not what Brady's used to. He's used to shorter, quicker passes where he's able to make a quicker read and not have to make that long throw or worry about those interceptions that we've seen a lot of. You mentioned earlier, Tom Brady has as many turnovers as Daniel Jones this year. So is it time to start getting concerned about Tom Brady and this Bucs team?
See, I feel like this is a conversation that people have every single year. And every year, Tom Brady's like, nope, I'm not done yet. And he does something spectacular. So my mantra always is like, never bet against Tom Brady after a loss. And the thing is here, so next week they play the Chiefs. And in my opinion, I think that the Chiefs are going to win this game against the Buccaneers because they're not looking great. And if that is the case, if Tom Brady goes up against someone like Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs defense, which Raiders gave them a run for their money, but we still see the Chiefs, this Super Bowl winning team, like they're still intact. They're not falling off the radar at all. So if the Buccaneers can't make it past the Chiefs, I don't know. But the thing is, I can't say that Tom Brady is finished because once I say that, he's going to do something Tom Brady-like and do some spectacular thing where he's insanely amazing again. So I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know what to think either. I just think it's very interesting that this Bucs offensive line is not what he was used to playing with New England, and it's definitely a weakness that certain teams with those intense pass rushes have been able to attack and have been able to force him into mistakes. So we're talking about some of the best teams in the NFC. I want to get into that a little bit more because who is the best team in the NFC? Who is the best team that we can is going to actually have a chance to compete with the Chiefs, who I would say are the Super Bowl favorites in the AFC, but you can't count out the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are undefeated as well. So give me your best team in the NFC right now. You talk Saints, we talk Rams, the Packers are up there. The Bucs are always a wild card as well. What kind of teams are sticking out? I know you already talked about it a little bit, but if you really had to pick, who do you see representing the NFC in the Super Bowl?
Again, maybe 2 weeks ago, I would have said the Saints, because they were doing some real great things. But now I don't know. Without Drew Brees, I don't see them being as strong. They might, they're probably still going to make it to the playoffs, but I don't see them being as strong as they should be, especially if Drew Brees comes back during those playoffs. He's not going to be 100%. He has 11 broken ribs. He's 41 years old and a collapsed lung. He's not going to come back 100%. There's no way, if he even comes back this year. So that would be my choice, but it's so hard right now because I really, really want the Packers to do well. I'm sorry. I know that you don't like the Packers.
Yeah, it's whatever.
But the Packers, they seem to be the best bet right now. But then the Rams came out of nowhere and did this. If I had to pick a random team that might come out from underground and do some great things, I would pick the Cardinals. Because the Cardinals are doing really good, despite being, I think, 6-4 now.
Yeah, they're fun to watch, though. They're a lot of fun. Yeah. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, and this defense is really young. But I like the Cardinals as well. I'd love to see them, make some noise, something different. That's always what I like to see is something different.
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins on that team is insane. I mean, we saw them playing the Buffalo Bills. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah, and he just makes that insane catch. That was And I have to shout out Kyler Murray for that throw. He was like falling down from like the 50-yard line, and it was on the money. And you're looking at DeAndre Hopkins in between 2 or 3 defenders, and just like, yeah, that's mine. Thank you. Touchdown. Game over. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. But I like what you said. I think the thing about the Packers is that great on offense. They can hang with anybody there. Can their rush defense stop anybody? Can their Jair Alexander has been very good. He's actually the number 1 rated cornerback on PFF right now for the Packers. And I mentioned they have guys like Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage back there. Za'Darius Smith is a very good on their line. But who do they have at linebacker that scares you? Like as a whole, that defensive unit leaves something to be desired. You know, they lose this game to the Colts. In the game, they give up 31 points. But I don't know. I like the Saints and what they've been able to do defensively, but the Rams have to be right there in that conversation. I just think the NFC is wide open. I feel like it's something's crazy is going to happen. When I mentioned the Steelers earlier, so they were scheduled to play on Thanksgiving tomorrow. Steelers-Ravens has been moved to Sunday due to COVID concerns. So the Steelers come in at 10-0. This is the first question I'll ask you. How long do you see the Steelers keeping that undefeated record? I know your brother is going to say the rest of the year.
Oh, well, yes, but he likes to think with his heart instead of his head when it comes to the Steelers.
Don't we all, though?
Yes,
with our teams?
Of course. My Giants are already in the playoffs. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there you
go. The thing is, it sucks getting a game moved, and now this is the second time this season that the Steelers have a flex in their schedule because of COVID on another team, which really sucks for them. Like I was seeing tweets today, earlier this afternoon after this game got, they said that it was going to get moved to Sunday. Juju, Chase Claypool, they were all out here like, this sucks. This is so stupid. It's for safety purposes, I know, but this just really blows. The fact that you're in the night before, you're in your zone, you're ready to play, and now you have to wait, 3-4 more days. It sucks. It really, really sucks. But the Steelers, the rest of their schedule, the only teams that might give them a run for their money are either the Buffalo Bills or the Indianapolis Colts. The rest of the season, it's Ravens, Washington, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Cleveland. Cleveland, while they look great right now, they play a good team, they crumble to the ground. Cincinnati without Joe Burrow is not going to do good. Washington, no. So, but Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, I'm a big fan. I'm really liking the Bills this year. I think that they could give them a run for their money. And we saw the Colts come out on top over the Packers last week. I'm sorry. So, but there's no team that I'm like, oh, they're going to beat the Steelers. So Can the Steelers go 16-0? Maybe. Will they? They've been shaky, especially in the last matchup with the Ravens. They almost lost that game, and it would have been really, really bad. But they still came out on top. I would love if the Steelers went 16-0 because that would make my brother happy. But but there's no team in the rest of their schedule that I'm like, they're losing. They're not winning that game. Like they could beat the Buffalo Bills. They could beat the Colts. I just think that they're going to give them a more run for their money. And those shaky parts in these last couple games where they may or may not have won, it might tip to the other side.
Absolutely. So the Bills actually have the best record in the NFL, or most wins in the NFL against teams with records over 500 with 4. So that's something to watch for sure. I don't know. I really like the Buffalo Bills as well. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, but they're very young, and I don't know how their defense would match up with this Pittsburgh team. And I've said it before, it's not like the offense in Pittsburgh jumps off the table. It's really the defense that's the best part of this team. But yeah, I could definitely see them stretching this out quite a bit longer. I don't have their schedule right in front of me, but I do like them in this game over Baltimore. A little upset that we don't have any Thursday night football for Thanksgiving with the Ravens and the Steelers. God, I cannot talk with the Ravens and the Steelers because that was fixing to be a great game, but that's neither here nor there. Do you think this is a bad look for the NFL having this primetime game on Thanksgiving kind of canceled here?
I mean, to be fair, while all these teams are in the NFL, they are individual organizations. So I think that this is more of a bad look on Baltimore and the Ravens.
Sure.
I mean, over the course of this season, we've seen teams left and right getting fined, getting draft picks taken away from them. The Raiders got a 6th-round draft pick taken away. The Saints are right now in a bit of a pickle because they might have some things taken away from them. People not wearing their masks. It's we are still in a pandemic. We can't just say like, oh no, we're just watching football, it's fine, everything's fine. Like, there's still people, they're still possibly getting sick. While I think they've done a great job so far in terms of containing, it's really quite impressive. But I don't know if it's a bad look on the entire NFL, because there's a lot of organizations that are doing what they're supposed to be doing and have no COVID at all. So I just think that it's not a good look for the Ravens, especially in these other teams like the Raiders and the Saints that are partying without masks on, or celebrating without masks on, or going places and, not social distancing. So in terms of the fact that this is a primetime game, I think it just so happens that it's the Ravens and they were supposed to play on Thanksgiving. I don't think I think that everybody's doing the best that they can, but, people are still going to get sick. It's inevitable.
Right, absolutely. So let's move on to the 2 games on Thanksgiving that are actually happening. We'll start with Lions versus Texans. So just kind of meh. The Lions coming off that loss to Carolina, where they just really couldn't do anything. That 20-0 loss with PJ Walker at the helm for the Panthers. What are you kind of thinking about this game? Texans coming off a big win over New England. Deshaun Watson having a really good game. He's got weapons in Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks there for him to kind of eat against this Lions defense. And especially if, they were without Kenny Golladay and DeAndre Swift last week, if we see more of the same, I like the Texans here.
I agree. I would take the Texans over the Lions here. The Lions, despite getting, that win against the Washington football team with that 59-yard field goal, they're not great. They're not great. And this, they're in the Bears division. They are not a very good football team. They've never really been a great football team. The only reason why they have the Lions playing on Thanksgiving is because they play every year. Same thing with Dallas. They play every year. So that's just the tradition of it. But no, I would definitely take the Texans here, especially coming off a big win against Cam Newton and the Patriots. Like you said, I mean, he has some good guys to throw to. I mean, it's still Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's still a really good quarterback, just for some reason this year with the coaching situation, getting rid of Bill O'Brien, Romeo Crennel coming in, it's mayhem. It's how do you focus after all this stuff happens in your organization? But yeah, I definitely think that the Texans are going to get the win over the Lions tomorrow.
Absolutely. Like you said, Detroit always plays on Thanksgiving. They don't necessarily always win on Thanksgiving. The 37-41-2 all time on Thanksgiving is not great, but that's always a great tradition when you're sitting down at noon at the family Thanksgiving. Might not necessarily be with the family this year, maybe over Zoom, but sitting down, get to ignore everybody to watch Detroit lose a Thanksgiving game. The team you mentioned, Dallas, they also always play on Thanksgiving. They are facing the Washington football team. So these are 2 NFC East teams right here. You're the NFC East girl. You are more familiar with them than I would be, for sure, just as far as a divisional matchup. So the winner of this is going to take sole possession of first place of the NFC East with 4 wins. Both teams coming off a win last week. Washington over Cincinnati, Dallas with a surprising win over Minnesota. How do you kind of see this game shaking up? Is Andy Dalton going to be able to continue that hot streak against this Washington pass rush?
Oh man, no, I'm taking Washington here. Obviously, I wouldn't pick either of them if I had the chance. if I have to pick one, I'd rather have the Washington football team over the Dallas Cowboys. The thing is that the Dallas Cowboys, they just won last year. It's still last week.
Yeah.
But they get this big ego. They get real big egos after they get their wins. I mean, they were celebrating over last week's win like they were like going into the playoffs. I was like, all right, just take it down a notch. Relax. Yeah. It's okay. You have won 3 games. Take it easy. So I think that they're going to have a bit of an ego, in their head, and they're going to come out into this game. They're going to be like, we're the best. We're Dallas. And Washington, who we've seen, consistently do well, whether or not they're doing well through the entire game. I don't know, but their defense is really, really good, especially with, the new addition of Chase Young. So I definitely think that they're going to be able to stop this Dallas offense. And then Dallas's defense is just not good at all. And I think Alex Smith and that offense is definitely going to be able to get down the field. So I think that Washington is going to come out on top here, and Dallas can just leave.
The football team. Yeah, Dallas, get out of here. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God. Dallas, Washington. Dalton Smith. Chase Young. Dallas. Oh, I got it. Do you think that the football team, do you think they regret going for 2 against the Giants like earlier in the year, like when they could have sent that game into overtime? Not saying they would have won, but like if they don't go, let's say they don't go for 2, they kick the field goal and they win in overtime, they would have 4 wins right now and they'd be in first place. Do you think that's in the back of Riverboat Ron's mind at all?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that, and I thought to myself too. I was like, wouldn't it just be easier if you just got 3 points instead of 2? But
right,
regardless, I have no animosity towards Ron Rivera. I think that he is a fantastic coach, and with all of his obstacles this year as well, with his cancer treatments and everything, he has just done amazing things for this organization. But I don't know why they did that. It's definitely going to be a thought now where they're like, oh, maybe we would do better if we just kept playing football and maybe got down the field. Same with that Lions game with the Washington football team. Even though the Lions scored that field goal, maybe if they had one more drive, they could have gotten down the field and scored and won. It's all up to speculation at this point, but no, it's definitely a thought.
Absolutely. So that is all we're going to do on the Thanksgiving game. So Sam is taking the Houston Texans and the Washington football team. Lock those bets in right now. Let's talk about the rest of week 12 real quick, and we will close this out. So let's talk about our teams first. The Giants are back at the Bengals. Give me your keys to the game. What do the Giants have to do to keep their momentum going, keep this win streak going?
I mean, take advantage of the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals no longer have Joe Burrow. Take advantage of the fact that they're going to have a vulnerable offense with with Brandon Allen behind the helm here. He doesn't really know what's going on. He's coming off the practice squad. He hasn't been on the sidelines at the games. Take advantage of that. We have a great defense. We can stop to make sure that they score as little amount of points as possible. And then offensively, just score points. That's all I have. Get the ball down the field, catch the ball. It's quite simple. Just catch the ball. You're good. Get it down the field. And I think Danny Dimes has this on lock too. Get Sterling Shepard. He's so good. He's there. Darius Slayton, they're good. Get it to them. They're always in the place where they're supposed to be. Daniel Jones can throw the ball to them and place it exactly where it needs to go. So as long as they do that, and even, Daniel, if you want to take off a couple times, take off a couple times. Get down the field. Get those yards. Score the points. Stop the offense without Joe Burrow.
Absolutely. So would you call this a must-win game for the Giants, especially – you just said it, their quarterback is coming off the practice squad.
Right, yeah, no, definitely, because I'm looking at the rest of their schedule for this year. this seems to be one of the best games for us to win, no doubt. After this, we play the Seahawks, we play the Cardinals, we play the Browns, we play the Ravens. Last game of the season, we play the Cowboys. If we can win this game and we can win the game against the Cowboys, I think that with 4 divisional wins, with 5 total, which is ridiculous coming out of my mouth. We have 5 wins total, 4 of them being divisional. I think that can really, solidify us here. I really don't see us winning over any of these other teams. So yes, we absolutely must win against the Bengals.
And then, so you said you don't see them winning against a few of these other teams. So obviously, you don't think they're going to win out, because that was going to be my question. So they have to win out. Obviously, if they did, that would put them in the best position in the playoffs in this division. I think you get to 5 or 6 wins, you're probably good. Let's talk about my Bears and my my Bears at the Packers on Sunday Night Football. Does Chicago have a chance to win this game from an outsider's perspective, Sam?
I mean, yeah, I would say yes and no. So the Packers are coming off a loss. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is, he didn't really look fantastic last year, but I mean, last week, I keep saying last year, I don't know why, but your Bears are now officially starting Mitch Trubisky, right? So that's, some really big news here.
Let's go. I'm sad that that's what I get excited about this year. Nick Foles, I was out, didn't practice with a hip injury. Trubisky's coming back from the shoulder. But according to Twitter, Mitch is the starter. So I'm excited. It's just going to be more fun to watch than Nick Foles just crumpling behind this offensive line. I'm sorry to cut you off. Again, keep going.
No, it's good. Yeah, no, Nick Foles definitely with this offensive line, Nick Foles needs time to throw the ball, and his offensive line does not provide that for him. So maybe Mitch Trubisky, who's more, he knows this team a little bit more. He's been here for a while despite being benched. I think that he's willing to almost prove something here and almost say, like, don't bench me again. I'm here, I can stay here, and I can win you this game. So I think that with that momentum coming out and the fact that the Packers defense is not the best defense, you guys can definitely get down the field, can definitely score some points here. I just don't know how angry Aaron Rodgers and that offense is going to be coming off of a loss. That's what's a little scary to me.
So what would you say the key to the game? Like, for me, it would be defensively. It's you get to Aaron Rodgers, hope to force an interception, which is a lot to ask for against Rodgers, but put pressure on the quarterback and then run the ball effectively. David Montgomery is back this week. The Packers are not great against the run. What do you think about that? How can Chicago end their losing streak on Sunday night?
Yeah, I mean, your defense is fantastic. If you can stop Aaron Rodgers from throwing the ball, if you can get some sort of interception of some sort, it really lowers him down a bit. Like, he gets really upset about it. Like, you can always tell whenever he gets mad, he throws the Microsoft Surface tablets all over the place. Yeah, so if your defense can do that, which they definitely have the ability to, they have to utilize that. And with their shaky offense right now and the Packers' shaky defense, it's possible that, again, like I said, Mitch Trubisky coming in wanting to prove something, maybe he'll make some really big plays. Maybe he'll do some really great things. But yeah, I would think definitely the Bears defense really needs to step up, needs to make sure that the Packers do not score as many times as Aaron Rodgers can score in a game.
Absolutely. And maybe it's a little bit interesting. They don't have a lot of tape on Trubisky from this year. So maybe they see something a little bit different. Yeah. Let's look at the rest of the slate and see if any of these games really jump out at you. So I have it right here. So we have the Chargers are going to Buffalo. Minnesota is hosting the Carolina Panthers. Like we said, New York and Cincinnati. Miami is going to the Jets, so they'll be playing at MetLife. New Orleans and Denver. Indiana is hosting Tennessee. Cleveland is going down to Jacksonville to face the mighty Mike Glennons. Arizona and New England. Las Vegas is going down to Atlanta. San Francisco and the LA Rams, the nice NFC West divisional matchup there. Kansas City at Tampa Bay. That's going to be an awesome game. Like we said, Chicago at Green Bay. for Sunday Night Football. And then Monday Night Football is going to be Seattle going to Philadelphia. Out of any of those games, does anything really stick out to you? One game you're really curious to see?
I would say I'm pretty excited to watch the Chargers and the Bills, believe it or not. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert, and I'm a big fan of Josh Allen. So these two guys going up against each other, I think it could be interesting. The Chargers are coming off a win. I know it's a win against the Jets, but a win nonetheless. So, I know that the Bills are the superior team here, but I think that the Chargers could be, whether or not they win this game, I think that they could kind of shift the momentum of things. I mean, I think that Justin Herbert is a fantastic rookie quarterback and might win offensive rookie of the year this year. But yeah, that's definitely a game that I was looking out for. It doesn't seem like one of these like top tier games, but I'm pretty excited to watch the Chargers play in Buffalo.
Yeah. Thoughts on Justin Herbert's haircut?
Oh, I hate it. Oh my God. I loved his long hair. I really did. And then I thought it was photoshopped at first. And then I saw that it was real and I was like, no, but it's okay. I'm over it now. I it's just a haircut. It'll grow back. But I was like, no, Justin.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's one game that I'm definitely going to be tuning into. We'll see how that goes, and then I'm definitely curious to see Tampa Bay and the Chiefs, how Tom Brady responds, how the Chiefs look after that close win against Las Vegas. So let's give you the time to plug whatever you want to plug. The Girl Who Talks Sports, your social media, anything like that. Sam, you have the floor. Can't thank you enough for joining me for this Wednesday night brew party.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a ton of fun. Please check out the brand new episode. It's out today on all podcast platforms with Andy on the show. It was a great episode. It was a lot of fun to do. It's on every single podcast platform, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, wherever it is that you get your podcast from, it is there. The YouTube video will be up tomorrow. I was experiencing some technical difficulties today, but you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Girl Who Talks Sports, and turn on notifications to make sure that you don't miss a video. And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram, both at TGWTS Podcast, The Girl Who Talks Sports Podcast. And I post updates on Twitter. A lot of times it's just me expressing a lot of emotions about random things and telling you when the new episodes are coming out. And the Instagram is fairly new, so please make sure that you follow me there. And Andy, thank you so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
This was awesome. I got to thank you once again for having me on your podcast. I'm looking forward to more collaborations in the future. Guys, please go follow Sam on Twitter, on Instagram, The Girl Who Talks Sports, TGWTS podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Go find her on YouTube as well. Make sure to hit her with the subscribe. A lot of great videos on there. Giants fan extraordinaire. Sam, thank you so much for joining me. I loved your take on everything. I loved hearing what you have to say about the NFL. This was awesome. I'm excited to have you back on in the future. Excited for more collaborations, like I said.
For sure.
So as far as the brew party goes, look out for us, guys. We're actually going to be back live in about an hour and 40 minutes for my guy Ryan Maloney and I's picks for this weekend. Hopefully it goes a little bit better than last weekend. He was 4-4. I was 3-5. Not great. Maloney's money line, week number 17, live, Periscope, YouTube, Facebook at 8 p.m. on this fine Wednesday night, one day early because of Thanksgiving being tomorrow. So, Sam, thank you once again for joining me. This has been episode number 38 of the Brew Party Podcast. Please like us and follow us on Facebook at the Brew Party Podcast. We are on Twitter and Instagram at the Brew Party. Follow us and subscribe on YouTube at the Brew Party. And then also another special announcement on Monday. We're going to have a live stream during Monday afternoon with former University of Illinois running back Reggie Corbin, one of the best Illini running backs of all time, joining the Brew Party Podcast on Monday. Look out for that. Go find me on the Girl Who Talks Sports podcast, out now on all platforms with Sam. And in the video dropping tomorrow, you can see my ugly mug there. Sam, thank you so much for joining me. This has been awesome. We classed up the joint tonight with our wine glasses for the brew party. Awesome. I had a great time. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. Live right now on Review and Preview Sports, Big Blue Avenue with Hank and Tom. Go check that out on Facebook Live. Check that out. They're live right now. Guys, this has been the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 38. Sam, thank you so much. Have a great evening, everybody.
Bye.